JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6, Stone Ocean, has the best start to any of the JoJo parts, and it's all because of the combination of the new protagonist, Jolyne Cujoh, and the setting of the Green Dolphin Street prison. Jolyne's independence and problem-solving capabilities, as well as the enclosed nature of the prison, make Part 6 very accessible even to people with no prior experience with the JoJo series. I'm Matrix, and in this spoiler-free video, I'll explain what makes the first 12 episodes of Stone Ocean so effective. Of course, the most important thing to talk about with any new JoJo's Bizarre Adventure season is the newest member of the Joestar line, who will take the center stage. Jolyne Cujoh is the daughter of Jotaro, the Part 3 protagonist, and she's up against the most disturbing challenge to the Joestar family yet, the American justice system. She's a delinquent like several members of the bloodline before her, but she's been framed for a serious crime she didn't commit. Because of this, she has to survive in prison, making allies and fending off enemies. The first thing that distinguishes Jolyne from the Joestars before her is that she doesn't have a stand ability at the beginning of the first episode. The three previous JoJos, Jotaro, Josuke, and Giorno, all have their stands from the moment they're introduced. And Josuke and Giorno both possess a nuanced understanding of how they work from the start. In contrast, Jolyne develops her stand toward the end of the first episode, which serves a few different purposes. First, it gives the protagonist a sense of mystery and wonder that we haven't really seen since stands were first introduced. Second, it shows us what Jolyne is like in a powerless state, including the fact that when she's backed into a corner, she's quick to turn things around on people who mess with her. She also doesn't let her prison sentence break her resolve, as anytime she feels despair, her anger wins out and she pushes on to get revenge. I won't go into what Jolyne's stand is, but I think it has a good balance. It seems to be more versatile than Star Platinum, but it's also not something that can do just anything like Golden Experience. I think Araki learned from the weaknesses of previous protagonist stands to create something excellent for Jolyne. Another thing I really like about Jolyne is that she's very clearly shaping her own path. Yes, her father does appear in the show, but he's mostly there to deliver vital information and tie her into the overall narrative. Some people likely won't be happy with the way Jotaro is nerfed, but I'm honestly fine with it because it lets Jolyne take charge from the start. She doesn't blindly listen to what other people tell her to do, and she creatively wins fights on her own right away. That's not to say previous Joestars didn't have strength from the start, but they tended to be more passive in being given some sort of mission to follow, whereas Jolyne actively ignores what she's told to do and picks her own path based on her inner goodness and sense of justice. The second part of what makes the start of JoJo Part 6 so effective is the setting, the Green Dolphin Street prison. There are three major reasons why the prison is a great choice. The first is that it makes the cast of characters far more natural. In a maximum security prison, you would expect the halls to be filled with hooligans, unstable psychopaths, and people who would use violence without a second thought. It would also be unsurprising to see guards who are somewhat twisted themselves from dealing with these characters and from the power that they hold over them. JoJo's stand users are usually incredibly quirky and frequently crazy, which makes them easier to identify when the setting of a part is out in regular populated areas. But inside the Green Dolphin Street prison, almost anyone could meet the description of an enemy stand user, which makes it harder to predict where the next attack will come from. The second thing that the prison does effectively is create a confined environment. The traditional Joestar technique of run away is far less effective when Jolyne can only go to other parts of the prison, each of which is just as dangerous as the last. Jolyne must be incredibly resourceful and use the enclosed environment around her to her advantage. The population with whom she can interact is also very limited, so Jolyne is forced to make alliances with more unsavory people in order to stay on top in her fights. This isn't entirely unusual in JoJo, as lots of the past protagonists made friends with former enemies, but Jolyne's crew is definitely the strangest and most volatile one yet. The third major way that the prison creates an effective story is with its gendered wings. The female population is kept separate from the male population, and that means that at least initially most of the other characters Jolyne interacts with are also women. While in past JoJo parts there have been relatively few women, and they generally have a pretty minor impact on the story, Part 6 proves that Araki is very capable of writing multiple important and nuanced women at once. And despite the big shift in the gender balance from past parts, the aesthetic of the show still feels the same, and Jolyne is just as strong and resourceful as any of her male predecessors. So to bring things full circle, Jolyne and the prison environment make the first 12 episodes of JoJo Part 6 incredibly compelling, both for newcomers to the series and seasoned veterans. The show doesn't bore us with a long drawn-out info dump on stands, but it shows the development of one in order to make things clearer to people who are unfamiliar with the concept. It brings back Jotaro and has references to older parts, but lets Jolyne take charge of her own destiny. and it creates a unique, challenging environment that's just as much of a threat as the enemy stand users within it. In addition, the show looks and sounds incredible. David Production has kept up their track record of stunning visuals, and as someone who's read part of the Part 6 manga, I can tell you that they've adapted it pretty faithfully as well. As usual, the music selection, especially on the opening, is very strong, and the voice cast is giving their all. It's great to hear Daisuke Ono as Jotaro again, and I've been totally blown away by Ai Faruse's performance as Jolyne. She's only been in the industry since 2019, but she's scored quite a few main roles since then, and she definitely has what it takes to give the loud, bombastic voice of a JoJo protagonist. I hope to see her in more shows in the future. Thanks for watching! If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing for weekly content. I'm Matrix from Matrix AM, Anime, and more, and I hope you have a great day.